Like this. Hit it.
The Roger Report. The Roger Report live morning show. Weekdays at 9 a.m.
Say y'all, I was on Roger's panel a few times and I couldn't take it. The heat. I got out the kitchen. It was hot. I was sweating. I had to get out.
He's Roger, and he's right.
Check this out.
We can live or die. You choose. I have spoken to you a lot of times in hatred and anger, and you have not heard me. Well, you had better hear me today. If you won't listen to me when I make an appeal for the Negroes because you have no concern for the Negroes, listen to me when I make an appeal for America. You claim you love America. Well, we love America. But you are driving us back and you are making a Samson out of us, and we are going to pull down the pillars. And then you think we have no right to ask for something? Is it too much to ask you to grant us human dignity? Should we be put down and shot to death for this request? If so, you can aim your guns. What the hell do you think we care about dying if you're going to deny us the right to live?
Good morning, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Roger Report Live, the best show on social media. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and take a moment out there, hit that like button, because this is where you're going to find the best content on social media, and you don't have to worry about it because you're going to have me right here to make sure that happens. And if you've already been coming to the channel for a while, then go ahead and hit that like button, because you already know what time it is, and you know that this is where you're going to get the best content on social media. It's not a mystery to you at this point. You've seen other people do it. You've seen other people do it well. But what you have not seen is anyone do it quite the way I do it. So make sure you hit that like button. And everyone, yes, everyone, take a moment out to share the content, y'all. There are so many people who need to get great content like this. And it's just a small thing you can do to help the world be a better place. And isn't that what we want at the end of the day? Don't we want the world to be a better place? Of course we do. So share the content out. Share it through your social media. Share it through word of mouth, or even text someone's phone. But do what you got to do to help spread the word. All right, folks, today we are going to do another installment of an awesome series, the grand finale. And today's honoree, unfortunately, just recently passed. The one, the only, Jesse Jackson, y'all. Jesse Jackson, okay? Maybe our last real, true connection to that civil rights era, as far as the people are concerned. The people who was in the fight, well, the more notable people that was in the fight. Okay, let's keep that real. Of the more notable people that was in the fight, he might just be the last one when you think about it. Okay. And Jesse Jackson has passed away, unfortunately. But these days have to come at some point for everyone. But Jesse made it 84 years. So I'm at least glad to know that Jesse made it 84 years. So today we're going to honor him in our series, the grand finale. But before we get into this, let me take a moment out and say shout out to all the people who come give me views on a regular basis, because y'all make the fam. Appreciate you. Shout out to everybody who hits that like button and do it every chance you get. Shout out to everyone who hikes me up every chance they get. Shout out to all the people who leave comments after the stream. Do it every chance you get. All these different things helps the algorithm and help grow the channel. So thank you for doing that. And shout out to all the people who go above and beyond the call of duty. Okay. The people who become financial contributors at the Roger Report Live, because real talk, you guys allow me to do things I wouldn't be able to do without you. And you allow me to put on a better show than I would be able to put on without you. So shout out to every single person who becomes a financial contributor at the Roger Report Live. And let me give some shout outs to some of the first people to check in this morning, because when you start a show, it's always great to see you got a few people checking in with you. But you know how I go around here, y'all. There can only be one. So shout out to the Highlander of today's stream. Shout out to the one, the only, and believe it or not, never seen the name before, but they coming through the first time that I noticed them with the Highlander, and I can't be mad at that. So shout out to, I guess, Jelen Booty Juice. I guess that's how you pronounce that. But shout out to you. Appreciate you. But I can understand, maybe a new person, maybe, the subject matter may have brought him here. Who knows? But shout out to him. You are the Highlander of today's stream. So shout out to you, big time. Appreciate you being here. All right. Also, shout out to my main man, the guy who helps keep a little bit of order around here with the rest of the pit crew. Shout out to Chef Mike Roundtable. The pit master is in the building. Good to see him. We got Floyd Thompson in the house. Yay. We got Gold P in the building. What's going on, my brother? Glad to see you. We got Trail Bentley in the building, representing as he always does. Hashtag long live habitual line steppers. Hashtag Negroes in the wilderness. Hashtag dignity over vagina. Hashtag Al Gore's babies. Hashtag Hell Hydra. Shout out to you, my brother. Shout out to you. We got Brooklyn's finest in the house. What's going on, my brother? Moose School is in the building. Great to see you. The Great Black Reset is here. Shout out to Afro Merchant. What's going on? My main man, 79 Kali Akate, is in the house. Glad to see you. We got TNBN. Great to see you, brother. Shout out to Inspired Truth Broadcast is in the building. Crumbling is here. Shout out to you, my brother. Shout out to you. And you know what? I'm going to read this. He say, thank you for acknowledging the life of Mr. Jesse Jackson, Roger. Why not? Okay, why not? Okay. Shout out to Chance Rogers. Great to see you, brother. Great to see you. I ain't seen you in a while. Great to see you. Shout out to Michael Watson. Good to see you, brother. Music Man 1982 is in the house. Glad to see you as well. Glad to see you, y'all. Okay, we are going to get into this, y'all. The grand finale, okay? Grand finale, y'all. Well, we're going to honor the one, the only, Jesse Jackson. I see somebody already done came in, y'all. But you know what? I guess on a grand finale, I ain't gonna make nobody wait, y'all. If you want to come up early on the grand finale, I do like to give a little bit of a monologue sometime, but it's a grand finale where we are honoring people who are no longer with us. And if somebody truly wants to honor somebody, want to move early, I guess I'm not gonna slow that down. So I'm gonna bring up a guest. I'm gonna say a couple things, but I'm gonna bring my guest right on up because he's obviously enthusiastic about this particular subject. And you know what? If you're gonna be enthusiastic about something, why not a grand finale where we honor one of our own? So let me just say, y'all, okay, Jesse Jackson, man, a person who was mentored by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself. A person who's also become a reverend himself. All right. Jesse Jackson put a good amount of work in for Black folks. Okay. And you know what? Jesse did some things that I, even today, want people to get a little bit comfortable with. And I got to give a man props for that. Okay. Jesse dared to boldly set himself up to do something that I've been saying black men got to be comfortable with. And, and as I'm researching Jesse, Jesse older than me, I could come out here and just link it, but I was like, no, let me do a little research. Let me find more stuff out about Jesse. See what type of views that's going on with Jesse. Jesse dared to lead he dared to lead white people, y'all, which means he dared to lead white men. And I know some people may not really catch that, but see, that's how we make America great, y'all. As black men, we got to be willing to lead these white men. Okay, we got to be willing to lead these white women and everybody else, y'all. Because in America, there's only two colors for real. And I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way, but in reality, there's only really two colors in America. You're either white or you're black. You're either black or you're white. All right. And if you want to make this a great country, you got to be willing to lead white people. Jesse Jackson was willing to do that, y'all. The one, the only Jesse Jackson. He has done a great deal for black folks in this particular country. Okay. Will he ever get the credit he deserves? Maybe, maybe not. That depends on us as a people. But we're going to do our part. We're going to do our part over here at the Roger Report Live, okay? We definitely going to do our part. So we're going to recognize this great man. And Jesse Jackson is so great. He took a show that was supposed to happen next week. He moved it up to this week. Why? Because he unfortunately passed away, even though I'm glad he had 84 years with us. I'm going to say, and one of his last great acts to help out black folks. Even the man passing away during Black History Month is significant because if you try to ignore the greatness of black people in this month, or you try to act like it's just a regular month of the year, the death of Jesse Jackson automatically puts more of a focal point on Black History Month. Now, I'm going to say that's going out with a bang. Okay? The man through and through was for his people up until the point that he even, and I'm not saying Jesse wanted to die. Nope, nobody's too much excited to die. That don't happen often. But if you got to go, which we all got to do at some point, to be able to stay healthy enough that if you got to go, to do it during Black History Month, right in like the middle of Black History Month, just to put more focus on our people, I got to salute. Now, y'all may say, well, Jesse don't get to necessarily time that out. Maybe he do, maybe he don't. Okay? Yeah, the Lord is ultimately in control. But I'm going to say that's one great act on the way out the door. That is one great act on the way out the door. So shout out to Jesse Jackson. And I'm going to stop for a second just to make room for a guest. The Great Black Reset is here. You got it, my brother. We should all be so lucky to live as long as 84 years and then go out with a bang like during Black History Month where it highlights what we've done in our lives. Or not saying we got to go out during Black History Month, but we do something that also highlights the things that's going on in our life where we're helping our people. But Great Black Reset, you have the floor, my brother. Glad to see you.
Good morning. Good morning. I hope everybody's doing well. Thank you, Roger, for doing this show. I wanted to get in here before Uru and Chef Mike get in here because I know that Uru's a tough act to follow, especially in a topic like this. Um, I was born in the mid '70s, and I remember being a child and seeing Jesse Jackson on TV. And even though at the time I did not understand the full implications of who he was, it was important for me to see him and to see him as a masculine black man in positions of leadership and power in this country. So I grew up very young understanding that black men are leaders because of Jesse Jackson. the way that he spoke, the things that he spoke about, the things that he did. And then as I went into my preteen years and started studying him and understanding who he was and what he done and how close he was with Martin Luther King with the I think it was the SCLC and uh, the Rainbow Coalition and the Push Coalition, which combined together both political and economic policies for Black people. This man is absolutely a great man. Absolutely. Um, Unfortunately, we lost Martin Luther King much too early. But with Jesse Jackson being there to fill his shoes, I couldn't imagine any other black man filling Martin Luther King's shoes in the way that he did. And he took it all the way into politics. He ran for president twice. That was important for us to see that even though he didn't win, that we're in the race, that we matter. He made me understand as a black man that I matter. And man, it was an awesome time to be alive, to see this man on television, because back then television was like how social media is now, and it was important to see him on the public airways in mainstream media, not only accepted by white men, but leading white men. Man, look at here. You couldn't tell me nothing about Jesse Jackson back in the day. You really couldn't. This is an awesome man to fill the shoes of Martin Luther King, and I'll land my plane there.
Well stated, brother. Well stated. We have the champ with us. He's come up, so I'm gonna go ahead and give Champ the mic. You got it, my brother.
Good morning, brother Roger. Hope you are doing all right. Excuse with my voice and everything else. I'm still recovering from the cold and everything else. It was discovered I had a little bit of pneumonia, but hey, I'm here. I'm alive. Get to talk to you guys. And my just want to say R.I.P. to our brother Reverend Jesse Jackson. I grew up in the mid '70s as well too, and I remember in 1984 when he ran for president. It was his great enthusiasm and everything else to get behind him. Um, I remember my parents with the Reverend Jesse Jackson political campaign brochures, Jackson 84. And what he did is that he dared to keep hope alive. He came from the great teachings of our black churches from the past. He was an understudy from Dr. Martin Luther King and other great pastors and leaders and everything else. And he took that, and he not only did he dare to keep hope alive, he basically said that to everybody that we are somebody. Whether we're poor, we are somebody. Whether we're on welfare, we are somebody. Whether we're got gifts and everything else, we are somebody. He dared that, and he put the challenge to us to keep on hoping, despite the dramatic obstacles that we go through systematic racism, economic apartheid that we're going through here in the black community, and he never stopped. He never stopped hoping and everything else. Now I read some interesting obituaries and commentaries about him saying that he was a little late after Dr. King, but he was also a little early from President Obama. Barack Obama should be thanking this man for his 8 years in presidency from 2009 to 2016, because had it not been during the 1988 presidential Democratic Convention Center, if it wasn't for during the convention, if it wasn't for the rules changes during that time period, Barack Obama would not have been nominated president. He would not have been nominated as the Democratic nominee in 1980, in 2008, and it would have gone to Hillary Clinton. So it was because of those changes, it led to President Obama in 2009 to 2016. So Reverend Dr. King, his legacy is going to be a part of us through Black history. Many of our children in the next 20 and 30 years are going to keep his legacy going if we can instill on it. And that's what I want to say. I'm laying my plane right there.
All right. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. Jesse Jackson, important enough to bring somebody up. Well, obviously, we can all hear their voice is not 100%, but he still came up anyway. So that should tell you something right there. And that's information for somebody who don't know. So shout out to Champ for coming up, even though his voice is not all the way together, which happens from time to time. People get sick sometimes. People catch a cold. It is what it is. But the importance of a show on Jesse Jackson was just too much for him to pass up. So I'm gonna say shout out to you for that. But that shows just how much Jesse put into our lives. And shout out to the Great Black Reset. I was supposed to say this before I really got into this about Jesse. He said we got Chef Mike down for no call, no show. Now, Chef Mike, I'm just gonna say, brother. You ain't got to take this nonsense, okay? But
See,
I'm gonna suggest we don't worry about this one today. I'm gonna suggest
we talk about black men working together and being together and all that there, and you driving division between me and Chef Mike.
I'm driving division with your comment. Ain't that about nothing?
I didn't have enough money to expound upon it in the comment section. I just worked with what I had. See, I'm not responsible for how you took it. You understand me? No, I ain't responsible for that. And, yesterday we had a great show. Uru had to come in here and get Roger under control immediately. I had to follow up with Uru and referee, and then you had Hot Sauce coming in here all crazy. And then you had Shark Sims coming in here agreeing with Hot Sauce. It was craziness. I had to referee all of that because Chef Mike was on the no call, no show. All I was saying was, Chef Mike, I got your back. That's all I was saying.
And
that's all I was saying.
All I was finna say is, let's not do nothing with your soup yet. You know what I'm saying? I was gonna try to say something positive in your behalf, but since you just did all that, I ain't gonna worry about it. No, I was.
We're gonna pee at when I need him. We're gonna pee at.
Let me get on back to Jesse. I was gonna say something, especially in the honor of Jesse. Especially in the honor of Jesse.
Yeah.
But let's get back to it, y'all. Jesse Jackson, y'all. Now, I'm gonna say one of the greatest things about Jesse Jackson, even though he became a figure, and let's think about the times, y'all. Jesse Jackson, I mean, he was right there when Martin Luther King Jr. got killed. He was right there. Okay, he was literally the last guy Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was actually talking to. That's how close it was. Okay, he the last man to talk to him. All right. Well, at least as far as we know publicly, he the last man to talk to him. Now, maybe he talked to somebody else on his way to the hospital, something like that. But as far as what we could tell, he the last man that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. ever talked to. So he been in the thick of it for decades at this point, y'all. Decades. Since the 1960s, and we're in the 2020s. Okay, so he been in the thick of it for 60 years. Dr. King asked him to come to Chicago to take charge of Operation Breadbasket, which was to help with the economic scene of Black America. Okay, and Jesse been in Chicago ever since. Okay, and Jesse been trying to do things to help Black America and others since that particular point in time. Okay. And Jesse didn't even go out there and live with all the quote-unquote rich folks. Jesse Jackson came to the south side of Chicago. Okay. South side a little bit different than the north side. I'm just gonna tell you for those who don't know. I ain't gonna get all into it, but south side a little bit different than the north side. All right. So Jesse was there amongst the people. And Jesse was the type of person that you may see him on television for various reasons. But you might be walking somewhere and see Jesse right there. You could see Jesse in the grocery store. You could see Jesse literally going out to talk to the average everyday person to not only represent what he wants, to not only represent what mainstream media tells folks what's needed, but no, he would actually talk to the people and get from them what they needed, y'all. And I gotta give Jesse credit, because now Jesse did run for president twice because he ran in '84 also. And I do agree with Champ. If Jesse don't run, you still don't have a black president. Okay? And that's just real talk. So he is an integral part on how Barack Obama was able to later on get elected, in the 2008 campaign. Jesse don't do what he do in '84 and '88, I believe it was. You don't get 2008 Barack Obama as a victorious candidate. But I'm going to say, Jesse, whether people liked it or not, Jesse did what he did, and we all saw what we saw. So shout out to Great Black Reset, who, like a lot of other people, the mere sight of a black man running for president, that started pushing what black men could do in the mentality of especially black boys. Okay, let's keep that real. Not only did he do it for black boys, he also did it for black girls. Because at the end of the day, they ain't think about being president unless they see a man be president. And I ain't saying a woman couldn't have been first, but let's be realistic. A lot of women, they're gonna do it after a man does it. At least back then. Nowadays, I think we got it to the point where the women will try to do something, even if the man has never done it. But back then, yeah, it was like if a man do it, then possibly I could do it too. But I'm gonna say Jesse turned the light on for black folks. Okay, to say not only can we participate in the political process, we can participate in the political process at the highest levels. So shout out to Jesse for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't think the political landscape looks the way it looks today without Jesse Jackson. And shout out to Champ for mentioning that Barack Obama would have had to do all of that legwork that Jesse Jackson did in the '80s if it were
Right.
not for Jesse Jackson.
Exactly. Yeah, he did it. He paved the way, and the fact that he ran for president, in the Democratic Party and made a lot of changes in the platform, and it also helped, black. It helped the Democratic Party because you got new registered black Democrats in there during that time and period where many of us some of us were still Republicans at that time, and and started gradually switching parties. And then when he ran, you saw the uptick of a lot of black Democrats who were registered. A lot of black people were registered for Democrats. They became delegate delegates and everything else as part of the party as well, and it helped create a new generation of young black Democrats to write platforms for the party during that time period.
And I want to get in and say real quick, y'all, especially since Black Rule came up here, so he don't steal my thunder. He over here with, wielding Milner as it is. So before he steal my thunder, let me say, as I was doing a little bit of research into Jesse's life, okay? Because I tell y'all, I look at a lot of stuff. I don't just come on air not prepared, not ready to do anything. Jesse Jackson ran in '84 for president of the United States with nobody really endorsing him in the party and all the quote unquote significant figures at the time, you know, he talking to a white reporter. Well, such and such says you running? No. You know, such and such, you running? No. You running? No. Boy, they tried to make sure everybody knew Jesse Jackson had no business even running for president, even with the Democrats shout. The Democratic Party did not seem to embrace Jesse Jackson running for president. Okay. He was going against 7 different white guys to go after that Democratic nominee. Okay. So even by 84, the Democratic Party, and you know, I ain't gonna get much into it. That can be for another day. But the Democratic Party, as far as I'm concerned, was still showing, whether we like it or not, this is not black people's party.
Correct.
Okay. 7 white men for the Democratic Party, no major endorsement of anybody that was notable back then for the Democratic Party. And they went out their way to let everybody know that nobody notable for the Democratic Party was endorsing Jesse Jackson for president. So the man was doing something literally unheard of back then, because it literally was unheard of. Okay. Now, I've never heard about someone even talking about it beforehand. So and I'm just talking about what I know from history. And I'm not saying maybe somebody in the past may have did something once or twice, but to the general population, it was an unheard of thing for anyone black to be a serious candidate for president of the United States. So got to get a man props for that. Got to get a man props. But Black Uru was here, so I'm going to go ahead and let him have the mic. Just had to do a little something before he took all the thunder, as I say. Got to get something in there good. Got to get something in there good. Because I got a lot of respect for Jesse Jackson. And, let me just say this also, because this was so near, this episode is so near his family death. Let me properly say, my condolences to his family, my condolences to his friends, my condolences to the people who've worked closely with Jesse Jackson over the years, and my condolences to even someone who's just a fan of Jesse Jackson. My condolences to everyone, because this is a time of suffering for you guys. I'm still going to honor this man, but I'm going to say, especially to even the closer people to you, thank you for sacrificing what you had to sacrifice in time with this man so he can do the things he did for the people who don't know him personally. Okay, amen. Shout out to all the people who know him personally for allowing him, whatever he was in your life, whether he was your husband, your father, your uncle, your friends, and so on and so forth. Thank you for sacrificing some time with him so he can do some things for us. And that's real talk. Amen. Now I'm going to give it to Black Oro.
Well, I think the condolences, first of all, of course, thanks for having me, Roger. Hope you and the gentlemen on the panel, folks in the public chat, are doing well. The condolences, the gravity of the condolences can't be overstated. Condolences to his dear wife, Jacqueline, who, Jesse was married to Jacqueline for over 60 years. In fact, I think Jacqueline may have still been in college when they met and or married. And just doing a quick, math, because she was a few years younger than him. So you're talking about a young woman a woman now who's maybe 82 years old. So, 60 years ago, she would have been in college. That her whole life, Jesse has been her whole life. And effectively, she was Jesse's whole life in terms of a family, made in matrimony. So condolences to Jackie. I hope she is healthy and well. I'm sure she has been as best as possible, comforted by their children and grandchildren, maybe even at this point, great-grandchildren, many family and friends. We even had the president reach out to Jesse. Apparently, they had been friends, kind of going back to the '80s. Interestingly enough, Trump was a big supporter of Jesse in the '80s and was often involved in programs and banquets and things of that sort. Helped to sponsor those activities, but obviously, Jesse was a towering figure in Chicago in particular. I mean, obviously, he's known internationally. Roger, you mentioned him running quite valiantly for president twice. I'll mention that a little bit later, but it's Chicago. There is no Chicago, without Jesse Jackson. Certainly, modern Chicago without Jesse Jackson. Black Chicago without Jesse Jackson Sr. He is inextricably linked to the city, and the city linked to him. He has influences over so many things, big and small. You know, several school events. When I was in school, I was in several school events that Jesse Jackson attended in the '70s. Man, in the '70s, junior year in high school. I attended an elementary graduation program for a younger relative that Jesse participated in the commencement for in '82, I believe. Yeah, 82 or no, it was 80. I'm sorry, no, it was 84, 85. It was right around the time where he had ran or after, somewhere around there. So Jesse was, I saw Jesse a number of times. He was very much to other people, maybe outside of Chicago, he was this national figure, well-known figure. But to Chicagoans, Jesse was Black Chicago. And I'll end my opening statement there.
Okay. And I want to say too, he was so Black Chicago. Do y'all know I ran up on Jesse Jackson Jr.? Well, excuse me, Jesse Jackson's house. Not that I was looking for his house. I'm doing regular stuff amongst regular people. Happen to run into this. I'm literally on the same block Jesse Jackson lived on with no expectation of it. It just so happens I went somewhere and it happened to be on the block that he lived on. Now, I'm going to say shout out to Jesse because he was living amongst the people. Okay. Now, Jesse had a nice house. Okay. But it wasn't maybe overly nice. I'll say that. It wasn't. I'm not saying the man had a bad house, y'all. The man had a nice home. Okay. But I'm saying it wasn't overboard, and it wasn't where I would expect a Jesse Jackson, a figure like that, to live. He lived in neighborhoods that I got friends just a few blocks away from. You see what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't so far off. And I'm saying that as a person who know very regular people, okay? I've told y'all time, I'm just a regular dude, and I know regular people, okay? So for Jesse Jackson to be living, quote unquote, amongst the people, I got to salute him for that. A regular everyday person could actually just walk down. I ain't saying you should, but he was close enough that obviously he spent some time talking to regular people because he been in the same spot for decades at this point. Okay, so he was living amongst the people. He's not one of the people who you see on television that don't have any idea what's truly going on with the average person in America because he lived in a quote unquote average neighborhood. He wasn't in some highfalutin neighborhood, is all I'm saying. Okay. This was not somebody living in Beverly Hills, okay, where it takes a certain millions of dollars to get. No, he was in a more regular neighborhood. I found this surprising, but I gotta respect the man who says he's for the people and then lives amongst the people. Gotta salute him for that. No.
I wanted to say I wanted to honor Jacqueline Jackson. Mrs. Jacqueline Jackson, who married this man at a very young age, gave him 6 children, raised his children, was a faithful wife from the beginning to the end, and reached the pinnacle of womanhood to become a widow of this great man. And to be able to identify at a young age the quality and character of this man, to marry this man, she is a shining example of what black women have been in the past and should be in the future. So I wanted to recognize her for that.
Absolutely. And
Yeah. Yeah. You just to kind of comment, just to give some perspective. Uh, Jacqueline married Jesse when she was 18 years old. Her whole, her entire adult life, she was with Jesse Jackson Sr. No running around, no other boyfriends, no city girl, none of that. 18 years old, married the guy, stayed with him until death did they part. That's who Jacqueline Jackson is. And there were some troublesome times that I'm sure we all know about, that came to light about 20 or so years ago. There was some troublesome times. And even in spite of that, she never once broke faith with him in that marriage and her family. When I'm sure there were a lot of people who would have wanted her to further bring shame to Jesse. She didn't do that. She stood by him till death did she part. So honors to her as well.
yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna say shout out to her for being, media savvy, I would say. Cause when Jesse was running in '84, y'all know they went by the house and they was trying to get things to do. You know how the media does. They look for dirt. Okay. They start messing with her, talking about Jesse spend this much time doing this and that and blah blah blah. He's away from home sometime, blah blah blah. And she said way back when, she said, Jesse know I'm married to him, and Jesse know he married to me. And that's just what it's gonna be. She just told folks flat out, we together. Okay. We've been together. We've been together in the past. We together right now, and we're gonna be together in the future. And she obviously meant it, because decades later, she was still with him. So shout out to her. And Jesse clearly was a great father too. I don't want that to be skipped over either. Because when they came looking for dirt on Jesse, they even tried to get the kids to snitch on him in some kind of way. They even tried to get the kids to say that they was doing something bad, which of course hurt his campaign, for kids to admit that they was involved in something negative while Jesse's running for president. And they tried to bait the children, but the children was like, no, we ain't did nothing like that. Well, what about drugs? My man say, yeah, never even tried them. Never took interest in them. Not even one time. Never had a reason to even smell them things, y'all. We ain't doing nothing. I'm like, no, I've been raised with great parents. Okay. And you know what? I got to say shout out to them, because the way I see the kids stand behind their father. And that takes some love and some training. Okay. When they coming to get you, they'll come at you any kind of way they want to. And I want y'all to remember that this is during a climate where Jesse Jackson didn't get any approval to run for president. Now, he did a lot of great things. I'm not gonna say it was just him running for president, but that was a critical time, and about how he's gonna be seen in the future. And it's going to reflect a lot on the past, because he has a direct connection with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You know what I'm saying? And that has always stuck with him throughout his life. Okay, is not the only thing he was, but because he was so connected even during the civil rights era, you know, the white folks putting him on TV understood exactly what they were doing. That's what I'm gonna say. And I'm gonna say shout out to Jesse for being as media savvy as he was. And you know what? I'm gonna say shout out to him again because he made me doing research on him very pleasurable, y'all. Y'all know what I had to do? I had to go back and look at Jesse Jackson. Not just stuff where people saying something about him right now because he just recently passed away. No. I went back to look at the old stuff. What Jesse been doing our whole lives. Okay, because I got my perception of Jesse. So what is it that I miss? Okay, because when you start seeing somebody, especially when you start out and you're a kid, you don't get everything going on with it. And I'm gonna say Jesse made my research pleasurable to see how Jesse would move, to see how Jesse would operate, to see Jesse be a representative of black men. And y'all, I've been calling Jesse Jackson's name for a long, long time. So I know I'm saying Jesse was kind of informal, even though I have never met this man personally. Met his son, but I have never met this man personally. I don't even want to come off like I'm saying Jesse is being disrespectful. I'm going to say, at least to try to help myself, the reason I've been calling this man Jesse for so long, Jesse was the type of person, even politician, if you want to look at it that way, where he tried to make sure you understand that he was a part of you and you was a part of him. He did a great job to pull certain barriers down so you're not looking at him from this great distance. But he's the type of person who's willing to serve you and literally be close enough to be in service to you. So I hope nobody takes me saying his first name as a disrespectful way, because that's not what I mean at all. Okay. And that's real talk. And doing the research on a person to see the stuff that I was getting, man, he made the research easy. I promise y'all that. I promise y'all that. Y'all should go back and listen to some of what Jesse was actually saying while he was living. Okay, to some of the stuff that he was fighting for while he was living. You will enjoy it. I promise you that. You will enjoy it. Okay, I be giving these pauses to let y'all get in sometime. But
Yeah. Well, you know,
I was on mute.
Go ahead. Well, my thing, Jesse Jackson, and you got to give shout out to his wife. You know, and I'm glad Black Guru mentioned about it. She could have easily, divorced him.
No. Champ. This is the grand finale. We dealing with all positive.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Shout out to his wife, for sticking with him despite tremendous obstacles that they were going through, through their 60 plus years of marriage and everything else. Because the press likes to go up there, and even our own government like to go up there and break up families. Look what they were trying to do with Martin Luther King and his wife and everything else with the Connor probe and everything else. So she stood by Jesse Jackson despite tremendous obstacles, despite the fact that the press was trying to create this negative narrative towards him and everything else.
All right. And I'm gonna say Jesse Jackson, y'all, much better speaker than I even remember growing up as a kid. Now, as a kid who happened to grow up in Chicago, so I was, in the place where Jesse was doing his work. All right. And sometimes you don't appreciate stuff sometimes when it's closer to you. So as a kid growing up, I didn't truly understand all the significance of Jesse Jackson. Yeah, I knew he was an important figure, and I knew he did certain things to fight for us as a people. So I've always had a certain level of respect for Jesse Jackson because that was one of us out there fighting for us. And that's a beautiful thing to see as a young black man. And Jesse got a couple famous lines, to keep hope alive. I mean, that phrase alone, in my opinion, does a whole lot for a whole lot of people. Because when stuff is really pushing against you, to remember that you have a choice of keeping hope alive is fantastic. It's your choice. You know, you could give up. There's bad situations out there. Everybody get hit with something in this life. But it's a lot easier to get through it if you would simply decide to keep hope alive. Okay? Because that's your choice. And you know what? I'm glad Jesse Jackson did his part to make people understand it is your choice. You don't have to give up hope. Okay? It may look dire, but you ain't got to give it up. And you can get a lot more done if you simply decide to keep hope alive. And shout out to Terenzo Jones. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you, my brother, for the super chat. He says, Jesse was an interesting man that I've had the chance of meeting and shaking his hands in Denver International Airport after coming home from a deployment in 06. Well, shout out to you, Terenzo. Shout out to you. Now, you know what? That's a great place to meet him. I'm going to say that. That's a great place to meet. You coming home from a deployment, and then you get to meet Jesse Jackson. And you know what? I feel good about him meeting the soldier that was out there doing the thing. I feel good about that, you know. And shout out to Gold P. He says his wife achieved the mission. She is now a widow. She has made it to a place where many of the broads today cannot even fathom. Fathom. Okay. You know what, Gold P? You are correct. Shout out to her for accomplishing the highest heights of a Black American woman, to be the widow of a great Black man. So shout out to her, and and shout out to their family. May they be blessed as they go through this particular situation. Okay. And yes, I said blessed, y'all, because you can be blessed even in things that are viewed as negative. God can make anything a blessing, and we all got to face reality. At some point, we all gonna have to go. So it's just Jesse's turn. But I'm gonna say shout out to that man for doing it during Black History Month, which forces people to look at the greatness of Black men during this month, even if they was trying to avoid it. So shout out to that man for that. And that's real talk. Okay.
Jesse, he reminds me of we're not very far from um, civil rights. Like when we think of Martin Luther King, because he passed away, albeit tragic, it makes it seem like it was far away when you talk about Martin Luther King. But Jesse Jackson was in the height of it, in the midst of it, in the heat of it, and he was right here with us the whole time. And it tells you how far we have come, and because of men like that, we have come so far. And if we can just take examples from men like that who were well dressed, well spoken, articulate about their business and about the business of the people in which they served, we can go even further, man, if we take this man's example, man. Man,
Yep.
shout out to that man.
And yesterday's show, we were just talking about heroes. And now today we're honoring a hero. Okay. Jesse Jackson, a hero of Black America. Jesse Jackson had choices to make, y'all. And yes, he does. It should be a reminder just how close the problems are, because people who was fighting in the thick of the civil rights movement, we're honoring a man who passed, who was literally in the thick of it with him. That's how close it was. And I know, and I'm saying this because a lot of people, they try to act like Black people going through certain troubles was so far away. Now, Jesse, it wasn't Jesse's father that went through it. Jesse went through it. It wasn't his granddaddy that was a mentor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was the mentee of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That's how close this stuff is to us. And Jesse did go out and represent Black men well on a national stage. Okay? A national stage. And that's real talk. And even, one of his last conversations with Dr. King was joking about whether he should wear a tie or not to dinner. But when Jesse went out, we saw him dressed to impress and represent black men very well, while actually going out to do political things to say, hey, y'all, think about it. It ain't just black in this country that's having problems. If some of you white folks and others would stand with black people, we could actually make this country a little bit better. Jesse was known for doing this, y'all. Jesse literally went out to get white people and any non-black people as well. I mean, of course he was working with blacks, but he got everybody else to think about, hey, you know what? Instead of sitting by doing nothing, why can't we address some black people's issues and get some of our own issues addressed? All right. And I'm going to say, I got to give him some credit to go out there and work with white people during those kind of times. I'm going to say there's a little bit boldness with that. You know, you definitely have to accept that bad things could happen to you at any given time. I mean, your mentor, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., clearly got knocked off. That wasn't no mystery. He killed in broad daylight. And you know what you do? You keep the fight going. Would anybody blame somebody for being close to a man who gets shot to death so everybody can see it? And then that man decides to say, you know what? Let me find something else to do with my life. I don't think anybody would have blamed him. But Jesse stayed in the fight because Jesse wanted to keep hope alive. Okay? And I'm going to say that's a very significant phrase, y'all. A very significant phrase. And I hope it would be a very significant phrase for a long time. Okay? I know I've used it myself. I've sometimes used it jokingly, but I've used it in serious ways too. But the idea that you have to keep hope alive, to me, is a grand idea that allows people to push forward when it don't seem so easy. Okay? And Jesse kept pushing, and he saw a man get killed in front of him. That's a lot. That's enough to make a lot of people quit, y'all. When you push for something and somebody you know personally gets killed, that make a lot of people give up a fight. But Jesse kept going. All right. And I'm gonna say, shout out to
Well,
that
not
brother.
just not
Oh,
not
go ahead.
not
Go ahead.
just personally. You don't not just know, but you were in the area of where this man was assassinated. So understand, um, if they're willing, and think what you think about it. You're in the area of Dr. King. Dr. King is assassinated. Whoever was willing to murder Dr. King, for you gotta figure they wouldn't think twice about killing you if it was convenient for them to do so. So to continue and to be a very sort of public advocate for Black people, especially during that time. This was also during it, and just later that year, a few months later, um, Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated. Just, Martin was killed in April. I think Robert was killed in July, maybe, somewhere around there. So to continue to be a strong and public advocate, and Jesse was, he's a very tall man. I think he's like about 6'4". So you always saw him coming, so to speak. He was, you couldn't miss him, both in terms of his physical presence, but then also his charisma, his you spoke of his oratory skill. I think you can argue that before he died, Jesse might have been the greatest living orator there was. I mean, people brag about Barack Obama being this great orator, he kind of basically did a 2.0 version of Jesse and Martin, obviously. But, you know, if you look at Barack Obama, I don't think there's a Barack Obama without a Jesse Jackson. I don't think it's a coincidence that Barack Obama came to Chicago during the height of Jesse and Harold Washington and Oprah and whatever in the 80s or whatever. But Jesse very much, you know, very much at the center of this Black progress and this Black ascent of Chicago. And I don't think Barack Obama is president if there is no Jesse Jackson Sr. who precedes him.
Yeah, and I want to say, y'all, to me, okay, my ideal of the perspective, especially with the different things that I looked at and seen, so I know it resonates with other people. I mean, to say you are somebody, and for people to say I am somebody, in terms of what Jesse Jackson was pushing, I'm gonna say that's one of the greatest lines that Black America ever got. Okay, it's probably at least a top 10 line that Black America ever got, because the whole perception, especially for a Black man in this country who has always been the target of racism, is for you to believe that you're a nobody. For a Black man to say I am somebody and to get other people to join in and to have an understanding that look, it doesn't make a difference what family you was born into. It doesn't make a difference that you may not be rich. Okay. You may believe your voice doesn't count. But if you would accept that I am somebody, you start to think in different ways. And you start to believe you count. And people who believe they count usually move a little bit different than people who don't believe they count. It's easy to let stuff go when you don't believe you count. But if you believe you count, you might start doing a little bit more. I honestly believe Jesse Jackson helped people to even participate in the political process. You know, there's a lot of people who do a lot of things, quote unquote, behind the scenes. But if these things are not done, outcomes that we get never take place. You know, Jesse had a team of people who believed they were somebody. Now, Jesse got a dead mentor, and to push things to another height, he runs for president against a bunch of white men, and no one in the Democratic Party approving of him doing so. Can we think about that for a moment? Now, how do you get that done without a bunch of regular people behind you who simply buy into the concept of I am somebody? And this America that was pushing super white. Y'all, I understand we in 2025. Okay. You got to think about this. You got to think about this decades ago. Okay. It's 2025 now. You know, and some people act like we got good racial relations now, but the real talk, they ain't so great. So think about this in the 80s, y'all. In the 80s, a man ran for president and the party didn't even back him. He just did it anyway. Now, how do you run for president by yourself without a major party supporting you at all, and you become impactful enough that it's mattering that you ran? You got to get a lot of people to get behind you who think they somebody too. Now, I may not be the person running for president, but I can be the person who put the posters up. I can be the person who fills out the paperwork. I can be the person who looks up all the legal precedents of what I need to do it right. I can be the person that helps Black people as a whole further our impact in this country. You know, a lot of people, we don't think about it because, you know, Black folks are told you have to be the man. But there's a lot of great value in being the man that's next to the man. So unless you can actually get all these different people who don't necessarily come from anybody rich, who don't necessarily rub elbows with any quote unquote chosen people, who don't even know somebody. And as Black Rule has said before, the Lucky Sperm Club, you don't even know these folks. But you can side with a man and say, hey, you know what? This guy can make an impact, and I can help him make an impact, even though the entire Democratic Party has no appreciation for him even being a part of the presidential campaign. And they not only did it once, they did it twice. You get more hate the second time. I just want to throw that in. You get more hate the second time. Because the first time, you just an unruly Negro. The first time. The second time, you just a rebellious, just want to do what you want to do, Negro. And that ain't what we about over here, as far as the Democratic Party is concerned at that particular time. Now, y'all may have some different opinions, but I'm going to tell you, when you give me 7 white men to choose from and don't endorse a Black man at all, don't tell me you was for my people. I didn't see it. But go ahead, Great Back Reset.
To add to what you're saying, for those of you who may not have seen it, when I was in school, we used to see this all the time. We used to see the videos of when they were marching for civil rights and they were spraying these people with fire hydrants, water hoses from the fire department. Man, you know how evil a person has to be for the mayor of a city to say, "Hey, ain't no fires out here, but get the water trucks out here and spray these people down in the street." Jesse Jackson was there. Hey, call the police department and get your dogs over here to attack these people that are not even committing crimes. Jesse Jackson was in the midst of that. To go all the way from that to running for president, even though your party didn't back you, and to do it a second time in order for it to be tolerable for white people to see this done and to live long enough to see Barack Obama that is astronomical.
You know, that is a fantastic point. That's a fantastic point. And I'm going to say, but there was somebody trying to get backstage, just in case you didn't get my message. Your signal wasn't strong enough for me to pull you up. If y'all ever want to join the panel, I do recommend you reset your phone before you try to join the panel, because sometimes y'all got these signals and you're not strong enough for me to bring you up and add you to a panel. So I would suggest you do that before you come. Okay. And hopefully that helps. And matter of fact, we got the brother, maybe he heard me, but he's back. Okay. Into it. Glad to have you back. You know, we welcomed you yesterday. You have the flow today, my brother. Well, let me just say you this, because I know you're newer to the panel. This is a grand finale of Jesse Jackson. So, y'all, grand finales, just so the audience understands, y'all, grand finales are where we honor people. Now, everybody got something negative that happened in their life. We ain't dealing with none of that on grand finales. The grand finales is a show for us to honor the people who did great things for us in life. And the Roger Report Live as a channel and as a group of people that represents the greatness of Black people, We just didn't get to them while they were alive, so we're honoring these folks in death. And Jesse Jackson, even though he's recently joined people who've passed away, we gonna honor this man the best we can, because at the end of the day, he did do a lot of great things for Black folks. Period. But into it, you have the flow, my brother.
Yeah, I only have a few things to say about Jesse Jackson. I kind of grew up with him. I'm from the South. Um, I had a lot of good memories about Jesse Jackson with the Afro. He had it. He had the real one. He had the real Afro. Uh, and Jesse Jackson was all about. He kind of make me think about James Brown, "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud." He was just a great orator who gave us, you know, those great things to say about being black. Jesse came at a time where, um, Martin Luther King had died, and there was a void. From what I remember, that void growing up and watching the news and hear my parents, because I'm growing up, hear my parents talk about it. There was no real black leader at that time, and Jesse had a little bit of criticism behind the MLK thing, but he was just the one that was chosen to fill that void. So I was just impressed by him having to fill that void, because it was trying to follow MLK. Come on, how you gonna do that? And he was a powerful speaker. I mean, just powerful. I mean, we all got together to watch him on TV, or we all rushed to the churches when he came to your town to speak. And I've heard that happen to hear him speak as a young man, probably between the ages of 9 and 13, couple of times, and oh man, it was just packed from people from all colors and all places that would come and see Jesse. And you could feel the power of his speech. And like you say, he was a big man. He was tall when you wouldn't know unless you actually saw him in person. He was tall. He was a presence about himself. The other thing about Jesse is we all got to celebrate the fact that Jesse had a full life. At the time, and I don't know how many people remember, but there were a lot of us getting murdered. That back then, even, I mean, just to go on, I think I heard Black Uru say, there was a lot of murders prior to that. That was Malcolm X, that was MLK. There was the brother, the Kennedys. A lot of people were getting shot. It was just a time of fear to step up to that plate. I mean, no, nobody wanted to. Jesse stepped up. He stepped up, man. He did it. It wasn't easy. He had a lot of criticism, both from the black community, and from the white community, but even black people were critical of him. Who's going to fill MLK? So I'm proud of him. He lived the full life. I had I'm not totally a Jesse guy from all the other things, but to just keep it proud, I teach my son, my children about him. I think he has a great place in our history, and we should be proud of him. And I think that he should be remembered with great honor. And like I said, I treat him like family. I mean, going back to the '70s is a lot of my memories of Jesse. So just want to say something positive about him, and gonna miss him definitely. And like I said, he was been right here for us. A lot of people didn't know, because Jesse went kind of fell back into the other spotlight, but he was right there with all that information about the past. You see the pictures now, and you're like, wow, this guy he's been everywhere. Yeah, Jesse was right there next to MLK. Also, I'd like to say Muhammad Ali. He was right in there with the Muhammad Ali too. He was he what was that? He was there with the, he went to Africa with Muhammad Ali. He was there. Jesse is on the spotlight of everything, and like he said, keep hope alive, keep hope alive. I mean, he would throw it out there, and it made you feel proud of who you are. So I don't have nothing to say but positive things today about Jesse, and he's going to be missed.
Well stated, brother. Well stated. You know, I'm gonna say, y'all, Jesse Jackson was always there for the people. You know, and that's a lot. Okay, because people have gone through all kinds of stuff, and Jesse was rocking with black folks no matter what was going on, no matter what the controversy was, no matter what people had a problem with. If you was one of us, Jesse was willing to rock with you. And I'm keeping it real because a lot of people they go through trouble and then all of a sudden, people talk about how when you go through trouble, people start disappearing on you. Well, I can say Jesse was not one of those people. He wasn't the type of person that disappeared just because you ran into a little bit of an issue or you quote unquote got into it with white people in some kind of way. So Jesse was truly standing for his people. And when I think about the bravery you have to watch somebody like Martin Luther King Jr. get killed. And yes, if somebody killed Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., what's killing you? That's basically nothing at that point. So Blackwood makes a great point on that. If you will kill him, I know you will kill me. That ain't even too much of a question. But Jesse kept being out front. All right. Um,
Yeah,
Everybody likes a nice short sprint.
the other thing about Jesse is that
He
a
just gonna
lot of
cut me
people.
off in mid. You just
Oh,
gonna
sorry
cut me
about
off.
that.
And I was being
Sorry about
glorious right there. At least I thought I was. At least in my head.
that.
Okay, I was about to throw something. You know what? I was gonna say. Everyone likes a good sprint, but a lot of great races I won in the marathon. Okay, a lot of things I accomplished in the marathon. But you know what? I lost the juice on that one. I lost the juice. You came in, I lost the juice. It's cool. Go ahead and say what you was gonna say. Go ahead and say what you was gonna say.
Yeah, a lot of people are scared of MAGA today. These MAGA people. Do you realize what it was like in the '60s with the KKK and in the South of how it was distinct of what racism was when I was growing up? And I'm not trying to say I live in a, but you knew where the lines were drawn. It was the black side of town, and it was the white side of town, and you knew what the railroad tracks were, brother. And the fear that you had in going into the South, you could smell racism, you could taste it. MAGA is nothing compared to the KKK and the whites that you walked up on. This is really nothing compared to what we had in for racism in the past. These people today for MAGA are fake. I mean, one day, hopefully, we have one day we sit back and we talk about it. These people that are throwing out, that are opposite now. I'm not MAGA. I don't know how many people here are. I'm not MAGA or whatever. But what I'm trying to tell you is that there was there was outright racism in your face, and it wasn't apologetic back in those days where I'm from. And to be, when Jesse, happened to come to the South and all the other civil rights leaders, there had to be protection. There had to be protection for those people, and so it was really something to fear. It was not something you played around with. It was something that was real. So Jesse came up during that time, and I just thank him for his courage, his his just coming out there and saying what was needed to be said, in a time when really nobody really wanted to step up to the plate. Nobody. I mean, there were a lot of people, all the people who followed Jesse, but Jesse kind of stepped up and just said, "Hey, I'll do it." Thanks. Sorry for interrupt.
No, I'm kidding with you, brother. It's no big deal, brother. It's no big deal. Um, Shout out to Floyd Thompson. He said Jesse was great growing up, coming to my elementary school and giving commencement speeches at CPS graduations. Him and Mr. T coming through the projects, giving out school supplies and food. And I'm gonna say, hey, shout out to you for that, Floyd. I'm glad you got that as a memory. But y'all, I do want to say, you know, this goes to the type of man that he is, or the type of man that he was. Even though he can get kind of quote unquote far away because he was the guy that would end up on TV, he's still close enough to go to a projects and go to a school in the projects to try to make an impression upon children and let people know that there's different choices in life that you can make. And guess what? Even though these people telling you, I get what y'all are going through. These people are telling you that you ain't gonna be nothing. These people are telling you that because of the circumstances you grow up in, that you have very limited opportunity. But I'm here to tell even you are somebody. And y'all, let's be realistic. That's very important to small children. Okay. It's important enough for adults. But when a black man can come to the projects and tell children, I don't care what they say around you, you can accomplish all types of heights if you just simply put your mind to it. Don't worry about your beginning, focus on your end. And to see a black man come to your school and tell you that means something.
Well, and the important part, one of the other important parts of him coming to the CPS schools, because as Floyd mentioned, I was also blessed to attend several school CPS school related events in the 70s and 80s that featured Jesse's attendance. And one of the great things about his attending was, and this is something you observe as you think about as an adult in hindsight, something you don't necessarily notice as a child, but as an adult, you realize the importance of it. And that is, I look back and think about his interactions with the Black teachers and the principals during that time, and how his presence gave greater esteem to those teachers and those principals. I was thinking back on the principal of the school I attended. He appeared to have a real kind of relationship with these people. Like he knew them or they knew him or whatever, and that influenced our view of those teachers and those principals. He kind of elevated their importance or how we view them by virtue of their connection to him. So it was the messaging that he gave, but it was also the relationships that he appeared to have with people in positions, Black people in particular, but not exclusively Black people, but Black people in particular of positions of authority in those schools and in other social environments that also were a positive influence on young people. It made you feel a little bit more important. You were connected to people who were connected to important people. If you're, especially if you've observed and raised children, you especially know how that kind of thing works.
Hello, mic check. Can you guys hear me?
I hear you.
Hear
I
you.
hear
I
you.
can hear you. I can hear
Okay,
you.
I don't know if my mic had went out or Roger was speaking, but yeah, man. To follow what Uru was saying, man, this man could go anywhere in this country, from the White House to your house, and he had like the ultimate authority with his presence and his integrity and the things that follow and things that follow him because of the work he put in. Man, this man was the epitome of what black men should be, how they should carry themselves, how they should present themselves, what they look like, how they took care of themselves, how they presented as husbands and taking care of their man. This dude this dude was amazing, man.
Yeah.
He was
You know,
amazing.
And,
he
and,
really
and
was. What I wanted to add too, he was a diplomatic, a world diplomatic individual because he was able to free um hostages in Syria back in 1983 and forged somewhat of a friendship with Assad at one point, and he was able to get people freed, in Kuwait when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait as well. Same thing he did in Kosovo and everything was Slobodan Milosevic and everything. So he was a very popular global person for what he did in helping bring back Americans, whether American soldiers, American citizens at that time.
yeah, and I'm glad you jumped in. Great Black
Yeah,
Reset.
the fact that Jesse Jackson Jr. Senior was never anybody's selection as Secretary of State is an affront to black people and is a appalling indicator of the record of the Democratic Party. Jesse Jackson is the greatest diplomat of our time, period, bar none. There's no one even close to him in terms of his record, as Champ referenced to. This guy went over. This guy walked Mandela out of the prison in South Africa. This guy, every major diplomatic event, freeing prisoners, meeting with Castro. I mean, he's the greatest diplomat. In my view, he's the greatest diplomat of our lifetimes. Period. And the fact that no Democratic president ever made him Secretary of State just tells you how shitty the Democratic Party has been to black people in our lifetimes.
Yeah, and I I gotta say, y'all, you may be having a hard time right now trying to remember exactly what Jesse Jackson's position is, because he was doing these different things. He was at these major events. He was having this huge influence on things going on even in world politics. And you got to sit there and think about, what was Jesse Jackson's position? He had one. He had no quote unquote official capacity. Now, it don't make sense. You can try to rationalize it. It don't make sense. Because when you think about this stuff, Jesse ain't supposed to be there, and Jesse's words ain't even supposed to count. Other people who was elected to handle things was supposed to be handling this stuff. But Jesse Jackson was doing. But nobody thought Jesse Jackson should have an official position. Now, that's the America that Jesse was still living in. And Jesse just died a couple days ago. All right? So that should tell you something about your country as a whole. Okay? Because I don't want people to believe that we just quote unquote pass all these racial issues. Jesse out here doing stuff that the politicians can't get done, and he having better relationships with diplomats, and he ain't got no official seat. If y'all don't understand, the greatness you have to be able to pull these things off, I don't know what to tell you.
and that's what I was mentioning. That is the absolute greatness of this man. He almost was not a politician doing more for the people than the actual politicians. This man, it is insane how much this man got done with so little to work with. Purposely, Washington D.C. worked against this man. The sacrifice his family had to make after Martin Luther King died. You know how many tears had to be shed in that household when he was telling them, "I got to do this. There ain't nobody else."
Yeah. And I believe, and they really thought too. These white people, they'll leave you out to dry at any moment. Now you'll mess around and get killed. They ain't gonna do nothing. And technically, they ain't really got to because you don't hold no official position, even though you're going out there to do their work. Think about that. You're going out there to do their work. You hold no official position. If you mess around and get popped off, it ain't even really on the United States because you voluntarily did this.
Yep. And look, he would have been the perfect scapegoat for anything politically that had gone wrong that he was in proximity of. Just think about that. This man lived in an America that absolutely wide open, out in the open, hated black people. Not this soft, cushy stuff that we got going on now where you might not get the job or you might not get a raise. No! Nigga, we gonna sick the dogs on you hate black people. This is what this man lived in the greatness that he was able to accomplish in that environment. Oh my God.
All right. We got a guest back stage. I saw a hero. I'm gonna bring you up. I think I know who it is. I do think I know who it is, but because I be getting feelings about stuff, y'all. I be getting feelings, so I think I know who it is. I think we good to go. I'm gonna be careful. Okay, there we go. We finally got her. There we go. There we go. Okay, and it is who I thought it was. It is who I thought it was. So we gonna bring up. I saw a hero. You got the flow, my brother. You have the flow. Glad to have you in the building.
I'm glad to be here, Roger, man. I hope everybody's doing well. Peace to the panel in the chat. And I think this show is right on time, man. And I saw a hero because after hearing you guys elaborate a little more, it brought back a lot of different interactions I've had just by doing stuff with Jesse Jackson or registering people to vote and stuff like that, and seeing them growing up, him passing out food and him and Mr. T and coming through the projects in Chicago, passing out food, book bags, school supplies, and all that good stuff. And him, giving that's a lot of those speeches that I am somebody speeches in like the 80s and the 90s. And, a lot of kids being inspired by him to maybe get out the streets, calm down the violence. There was a separation. That was back in those days. It was a separation where you knew which kids were on the wrong side of the tracks. And he gave a lot of kids hope, and him associating. I lived in the neighborhood where Operation Push was, so I've seen him on both sides of the war, third ward and the fourth ward, from the alderman in one ward and somebody who was the alderman who later became the chief judge of Cook County. Seeing him interact, I'm kind of following up on what Black Ooh said as far as how he was able to move around and, with anonymity in a sense, where he wasn't a threat to anybody, but, he was heard, and he was kind of neutral in a lot of different things. But things that mattered to Black people, he was very vocal about. He would have programs he would be on television where he would point out the greatness that the kids were achieving through education, community activism, and he encouraged that. And even meeting, having a knowledge of his son, I saw where his son pretty much really got it from. It was his charisma passed on to Junior. They used to eat a little local diner every morning. You go see him before I got ready to go to work or jumped on the bus. They had the same diner every morning, ordering the same food, having the same conversation. They were reachable and touchable. And so I had to have known him, had some interaction with him, and a lot of inspiration from him. And I'll land my plane there. And thanks for having me, Roger.
Hey, appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Yeah, I personally never got to meet Jesse Jackson. I only met Jesse Jackson Jr., who came to my school. Okay. So, he was, doing a lot of great things, following a lot of great footsteps. And I just want people to really know and understand, don't take it lightly, y'all. Jesse Jackson, being the diplomat that he was, all right, with our country being the way that it is. And I know our country, we be putting up a fake facade here and there some of the time, y'all. Do y'all understand? It's people on the world stage that would be like, we don't really like the United States like that. We don't really want to talk to y'all like that. We don't really trust y'all like that. But if you send dude over here, we'll talk to him. Who are you talking about? The dude. What you mean? Y'all know the guys y'all call niggas, the guys that y'all say is nothing, the guys y'all treat worse than anybody else. Send us the nigga, and not from a negative way toward them. Is how America treats black men in this country. So I'm saying, yeah, the other countries say, we don't want to talk to y'all. We don't really like y'all like that. But that man you call a nigga, he actually got credibility with us. If he tell us you'll do something, we believe you might do it. Now, we know America has its reputation, but if he say you might do it, we might be more willing to, deal with a little bit more, because he is giving y'all his approval. I mean, Jesse Jackson was stamping off America, not America stamping off Jesse Jackson. That's a little bit different. Okay. Who goes on the stamp means something. All right. And Jesse could stamp this country where this country couldn't stamp itself. Now you can say whatever you want about Jesse Jackson. It's a very rare man that can get that done. Okay, a very rare man who can get that done. Where you can say, look, man, I'll back America on this one. Not we as America, we backed him. No, I'll back America. Look, y'all, I'm going to make sure they do X, Y, and Z. They said they're going to do it. We going to make sure it happens. Trust me. Not necessarily America. Trust me. And that's the guy telling people that he is somebody. That's the guy telling people, say it with me. I am somebody. That's the guy saying, I don't care where you come from. I don't care how bad it was. If you put your mind to it, you can achieve great things. And he out here doing the United States of America's job. That's the person you got telling people this. That's the person you got inspiring children and grown folk. So I'm just saying, don't let that just slide across the table and not really see how much that was. Okay? That's a very great accomplishment that very rare people can do. Most people don't get to stamp a country off. Usually it's a country stamping you off. All right? And to still be reachable, as Floyd just said. If you wanted to talk to Jesse, all you gotta do is go the way he go the way he eat. And Jesse Jackson did have that as a unique thing. A lot of people who get into politics get very closed off. A lot of people who get in positions of power become very closed off. A lot of people who swear they want to help you They put so many barriers in between you, you'll never really be able to get to reach them. Now, I just found this out when he said it, but look what Floyd just tell us. All you gotta do is go to breakfast. If you want to talk to Jesse, get an idea at Jesse. And I'm not saying the man can talk to everybody at the same time, but Jesse made a routine of where he's gonna be. So maybe you couldn't get to him super instantly, but if you go to the right place, you talk to the right people, you could be heard by Jesse. Now, I think that's a very important thing, to have a ritual like that where you would literally go to the same spot. Now, he ain't have to eat the same food. I don't care what he ate. But if you would go to the same spot every day, so other people would have a chance to actually say something to you, not just meet you, not necessarily just get a photo op. I mean, I'm pretty sure people was doing that. But to be able to say, hey, man, this is a real important thing to me. Jesse, why don't you look into this? Or Jesse, why don't you, what do you think about that? Or to really just put something in his head that because he does carry certain political power, even though he technically didn't have that political position, you know, that he can influence great things. Well, he allowed the everyday man to have a chance to influence him, knowing that he can influence people that, you know, have a great deal of power in a lot of different situations. That's not normal politics. I'm going to say that, y'all. That ain't normal politics. The average politician, you are not going to get access to. Let's just keep that real. Not when you really on TV, and not when your name is really kind of known around the nation. You don't really get access to those people. So the fact that Jesse Jackson will go to the same place every day, I got to salute him for that. Now, we got Bad Black Gamer coming up, so I'm going to let him get the mic. Bad Black Gamer, you have the flow, my brother. And now he got knocked off, y'all. He got knocked off. All right. You wait for me to give you the intro, then you get knocked off. That's hilarious. Okay. But look, y'all. Was Jesse Jackson a perfect man? Absolutely not. Okay. Did he look out for black people in every single way that you wanted to? Maybe not. But he did it. Jesse did put in the work when other people was shying from the work. And I can understand that, y'all, because I try to think about stuff in a realistic context, a human context of what people had to do or deal with in the time they had to deal with it. You know, white TV, mainstream TV, has always told black people that you got to have one leader. And a lot of black folks buy into that. I don't believe that to be the truth, but a lot of black folks buy into that. So now you done kill King. Somebody got to get in this spot because white people say it can only be one leader, which is crazy, but that's what white people push. When the last time you got in line behind a person who just got shot? I'll ask again just to make sure y'all heard me right. When the last time you got in line behind a person who just got shot? Because I don't care what you're talking about. That ain't a quick position to get in. I don't care if you was at the grocery store. If you see somebody get shot, you ain't about to jump in that line. You about to leave. Or at least panic. Okay, at the very least, you might panic. But you ain't jumping in that line. Now, there was a line. You know, the white people say it can only be one leader. And a lot of black people is definitely buying into that. And we bought into that for decades. Let's just keep it real. Somebody got to be in that line. And Jesse was talking to the man that got shot. And he still got in the line. And he stayed in the line for decades and has just recently passed away in that line. If y'all can't see the greatness of that, turn your eyes on, because you got them turned off. Real talk. Okay, you turn your eyes on. But now I'm gonna give it to Bad Black Gamer again. I guess he ready to talk now. Okay, you got it, my brother.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Salutes to the chat. Salutes to you, Roger. Hopefully, my sounds come in okay.
Yeah, you sound
Um,
fine. You sound fine.
um, and hopefully, I'm probably going to say something that's already been said on the show already. So forgive me for that if I do. But just kind of like leading off where or picking up where you just led off is Jesse is the last of original group of gangsters when you think about it, because he came from an era where a lot of the guys that were standing up, speaking out, you know, that wasn't like an easy thing to do. That you paid for that with your life. And like some other guy, I heard some other people talk on the broadcast so far mention, like you had a lot of guys that the Kennedy brothers, the politicians, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. A lot of these guys were getting killed, and just for speaking out what they or standing up for something, at a time. And we can't really say who was doing it. I mean, a lot of us can assume that it was probably the American government at the end of the day that had a hand in all these things, and the powers to be. But he Jesse came from a long line. He's like the last OG from a group of people that was just like, I look at it, it was kind of, they was kind of like gangster with it. They had a target on their backs, you know what I'm saying, for standing up and believing in the things, that were right, So I think he's like the last guy now. He's the last guy from that age, that golden age of the civil rights. With his passing and everything, rest in power. He's basically like the last. He's like the last OG. You know what I'm saying? Of that time. Where if you stood for something, you paid for it with your life, and you had to be prepared to die at any moment. And like you said, Rogers, that's real gangster to be sitting up there standing right next to the guy, and you watch him get shot in the face, and you still be like, you know what? I'm gonna run for president. I'm gonna keep this train moving. I'm gonna keep making, leaps and bounds, for the betterment of, black people in this country. So so I think Jesse was a real hero, and I think he should be remembered as such. And land my plane right there. And thank you for your time, Roger.
Yeah, and I just want to say, shout out to all the people who was there for the fight. So I'm gonna say Jesse might be the last notable person. Okay, because we still got the everyday brothers who were alive during that time where they were truly fighting these civil rights fights. And I don't want to minimalize anybody who was in there doing that work for us. I don't want to, minimize anybody who literally got a hole sprayed on them and literally got bit by dogs just because we don't happen to know your name. And that's just the way life goes. Everybody's name is not necessarily known. So I'm gonna say, Jesse might be the last of the notable people who was in the fight during that time. But I appreciate him, and I appreciate all the people who are not notable, because the people who ain't notable make the notable person important. Let's not forget that, And much respect to Jesse, because, man, when it comes down to it, y'all, we can say what we want to say, but if we don't have these figures, we don't get ahead the way we were getting ahead. It just don't happen. And regardless of how much comfort you think may come in these situations, some people believe, well, these people are able to make money on the back end. They can, be out there and become millionaires and things like that. Look, y'all, that's still a hard choice. What you prefer? $10 million in 10 days to live? Okay. Or maybe if somebody would give you $10 million, would you take 10 years? See, when you start putting your life on the line, choices start changing. So you can think that, you get this or you get to have this. You might be able to buy this flashy thing or that. No, man, being in these positions, especially one like a Jesse Jackson, where he's even being able, he's helping with political moves, and he ain't even getting paid by the country. Jesse wasn't no senator getting health care. Jesse to the United States of America was just a nigga that's out there. Okay,
I think
that's
they,
what
I
Jesse
think, I
really
think they
amounted
missed
to.
that. They missed that, Roger. Go back and tell them again that senator comment. I don't think they really understand what that means, bro.
The fact that Jesse is out here in the limelight handling political business, but he's not a senator. Is that what you're referring to? The fact that he ain't on the payroll, the United States government has no real obligation to protect him any more than any other random citizen. The fact that he will go into the dangerous room or go into the places that, hey, you know what, you may not actually get to come out of. And he can do that on behalf of the United States. And ain't nobody promised him anything. It again, y'all, it's nice to be able to say, well, you know, I can do this thing and maybe I can make some money on the back end and, you know, I can finagle this and finagle that. And maybe I get $10 million out of it. But if I got $10 million and only 10 days to live, maybe $10 million only 10 years, don't sound so good. Because real talk, you know, now I consider myself as a person who loved my country. Jesse may have loved it a little more than I did, just to keep it real. Because, you know, there was some political situations that were, well, I ain't necessarily going, especially with the fact that if I die, America has promised me nothing. Jesse was making some hard choices out there, y'all.
Just
And again, you got to think about it from a realistic standpoint. He's a human being just like you. He has a life just like you. He has to deal with the realness of the situation just like you. Jesse going into places doing stuff for the country with no health care coverage, no promise from America to take care of his family. See, when you're a senator, they give you something. You get a package, okay? Even if you're a governor, you get a package. You're an elected official. All right? If you're working in the cabinet, you get a package. Jesse doing all this without a package. Jesse trying to help regular black folks, and I applaud him for trying to lead white people too, when America gave him nothing to do it. Now, and people gonna say, well, yo, Jesse was able to get this and Jesse was able to get that. He did that in spite of America not promising him anything.
I wanna say something. I want to say something to white America. Jesse is the epitome of the question I asked yesterday. Are black men afraid to be leaders, or is white America afraid to recognize us as leaders? Jesse represents what leadership can do for white America, what black leadership can do for white America. If they truly free us to be leaders in this country, you know how the national relations, the international relations would improve across the world. Are they afraid to not get credit? How could we not be an improvement upon this country? If they work with us, Jesse Jackson is just one of us. Imagine what could get done if they work with us in mass. I'm
Well,
gonna
I mean,
land
it's
with that.
not just about who gets credit, which is a big thing. It is the perception of, you know, think about, notice how virtually all of the major human form artifacts of Egypt have their noses removed. I'm sure you all are aware of that phenomenon.
Yep, the
Oh,
Sphinx and
absolutely.
all the
Absolutely.
statues and everything.
All, all of the major human figures of antiquity, certainly sculptured figures of Egyptian or Kemet antiquity, have their noses removed. There's a reason why. There's been a massive effort to remove evidence of the influence of Black male, in particular, leadership, dominance, uh, architecture, everything.
Now, y'all, I know y'all didn't know it. I'm talking about the people on the panel and the audience, y'all. I'm gonna end the show a little bit early. I do allow shows to go to 3 hours if you happen to be new, but today I was like, well, I'm gonna do like a 2 hour show. So, what I'm gonna ask at this point right here, we're gonna actually go into closing statements, and we're gonna get off a little early today. We still can talk backstage, of course, like we do, but I need to get off a little early today. So I'm gonna ask for a closing statement. Bad Black Gamer, you came in last. I'm gonna start on your end since Black Who just got to speak. I'm gonna start on your end. Bad Black Gamer, as a closing statement, what would you like to say here about our great friend Jesse Jackson? Are you saying it on mute or are you not saying it? Bad Black Gamer. Okay, Bad Black Gamer going once. Bad Black Gamer going twice. And he picked the Jesse Jackson show to go to the bathroom. He in the bathroom, y'all. Okay.
I'm here. I'm here, fellas. Let's close. You're doing closing remarks already?
Yes, sir. We gonna end a little early today. Usually I do 3 hours. I'm only doing 2 today. Okay. I am human, y'all. Please remember, I am human. So we only gonna do 2
You just
today.
like Black History Month. You cutting it short.
Don't do
Damn!
me like that. Don't do me like that.
I dare you give Jesse the shortest show. No, I'm cool. No, it's good. No, rest in power. Yeah, to Jesse Jackson, man. Thanks for the broadcast and thanks for having me on.
Okay, appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. I saw a hero. Any last words to close this one out?
Yeah. Peace to the panel and chat. Thanks to the Jackson family for producing such a inspirational hero for a lot of us. Someone who stood up for us when other organizations in America wouldn't. Who's been a humanitarian, civic leader, father, granddad. Condolences to the family once again, and to his siblings. And we thank you for being there, Reverend Jesse Jackson. And I'll land my plane there.
Appreciate you. Into it, X. Any last words?
Yeah, just a few things. A lot of people don't know that. Maybe they do, but I may be wrong about this. But Jesse ran for president twice. His second president, his run was pretty serious. He's pretty close. I mean, if people had heard the debates and what he was saying at that time, I think Roger was trying to say that they only needed one national black leader. Jesse was new on the scene of seeing somebody black run for president. Uh, to run for that top spot, and I guess that's just another thing that's added on for Jesse. And I just thank you. I think the way I see Jesse, I sat here and thought about it because I listened to a lot of people. What is his place in history for me would be he's the bridge. He is the bridge. He is. There was only so much he could do. He was limited to certain things, but he was powerful. He was unbelievable, and we should hold him up. We should always keep him alive, and understand that we wouldn't be here today with the situation we're in without Jesse. I mean, there wouldn't have been a Barack Obama. There without you know Jesse Jackson, because somebody had to go first. Somebody had to get the idea. We still got a ways to go, but just thank you very much to Jesse Jackson and his family, his wife, and his reputation, and I just want to thank you for that. And with that, I'm saying I gotta go, guys. See you guys on the next one.
I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Black Guru, any last words before we close out on Jesse Jackson?
Oh, rest in peace, Jesse. Um, you were a unique or are a unique uh, presence in the history of this country, especially the latter part of the 20th century. The things that you did matter. The people you did them with, the places you went, the politics you influenced matter. Even though you didn't have a formal political position, you were a very powerful political influence in the country and throughout the world. Uh, I repeat, I think you died the greatest diplomat in the world. Nobody had the footprint, the influence, the broad swath of relationships and connections of empathy and influence and respect that you appear to have over the flush of your lifetime. There'll be a lot of things that's said and alluded to about you. Some of them maybe not necessarily favorable. Um, to that, I would say, Jesse Jackson was a great reflection of Black men, Black people, and America. And when I say a great reflection, I mean a full reflection, being of things that are wondrous and some things that might appear unsavory. And he was a lost opportunity. He was a lost opportunity for the Democratic Party in particular to perhaps take the country in a different and a better direction. But again, because he was a Black man, he was a symbol of what America truly is. And in that respect, sadly, that is not always the best of things. So thank you, Jesse, for your service. Thank you for your investment in what Black people are, what America is, and may you rest well and rest in power.
All right. Champ, I know you having trouble with your voice, but any last words you want to give before we close out on Jesse Jackson?
Yes, brother. Jesse Jackson, was a trailblazer, and he dared to keep hope alive, and he also challenged us that we are somebody. No matter the circumstance, no matter what circumstances we're in, there will always be somebody. And I um I don't know what the future holds in the next 20 years, but who knows? He might end up getting a stamp one day from the U.S. Post Service one day. I don't know. It may happen. But I just hope that we will carry on with his legacy and everything because he was well known around the world for his service and what he did as a diplomat and everything. And his legacy is going to continue on forever. I'll land my plane there. Thank you, Brother Raj.
Okay. The Great Black Reset. Any last words on this one?
I normally would decline to go after Black Uru, but I'll make an exception today. Um, First, I would like to say to black men, aspire to the greatness that was set by this man, Reverend Jesse Jackson, into the country. You will never give the Medal of Freedom, which is the highest honor given to a civilian, to a greater man. Never in the history of America has this medal gone to a greater person. And I don't think it will ever be achieved by a greater person with as much adversity that they were going against as this man. And lastly, I will say to the Jackson family, thank you. We appreciate your sacrifice. We appreciate the tears you cried in all those years and the tears you cry today. This is not just a loss and a condolence to the Jackson family. This is a loss and condolences to all of America. We have truly lost one of our great men. And I'll land my plane.
And I'm going to say shout out to No Placeholder. Appreciate the super chat, my brother. He say my Jamaican mama loves her some Jesse Jackson. Well, shout out to your Jamaican mama. Real talk. Shout out to your Jamaican mama. And I'm going to say, y'all, think about who Jesse Jackson was. Think about what Jesse Jackson's position is. And think about America's position. America say all men are created equal. Jesse Jackson helped push America to get to a point where it'll finally recognize that all men are equal. Okay? America say this is the country where you can come live out the American dream. While Jesse Jackson actually helped people to get into a mindset and where they can actually see an opportunity without America, well, even though America was literally trying to hold them back, but he wanted you to see that, yeah, you can achieve your American dream, even though America will be against you. Okay? And I'm going to say shout out to Jesse Jackson for being another black man and a great black man on the world stage, literally going to do America's job. Jesse Jackson has succeeded in multiple ways where America clearly failed. Jesse Jackson was not your president. Jesse Jackson has never been your senator. Okay? He never been a governor, a mayor, or any. Jesse wasn't even your alderman. Okay? You know, I'm pretty certain on that. I don't even think Jesse Jackson ever even became an alderman. Jesse never actually had a political job. But Jesse carried more weight than most politicians. But ain't that a black man for you? Jesse literally went out there and did stuff America couldn't get done. Now, America is dead set against black men. But black men help America get the job done. Whether you respect us or not, we make America look good. It's that simple at the end of the day. Okay? And Jesse Jackson was a clear showing of him being able to succeed where America fails. Now, you can take that as a double, triple, or quadruple entendre if you want to, because I mean it in a whole bunch of different ways. So I'm going to say shout out to Jesse Jackson for showing everybody that a black man can get further than the country can go on as a country. Jesse can go further than that. Now, think about what would truly happen when we truly join America with black men, where we're not fighting each other. If Jesse could do all that while America fights against us, what will we do when America stops fighting against us? Maybe Jesse can see it now. I hope some of us will too. If you ain't subscribed to the channel, y'all, make sure you do so. Again, my condolences to the Jackson family and everyone else who knows him personally, and for all of us who know him impersonally. We lost a great one. Long live the habitual line steppers. And let's keep it real, y'all. Jesse been habitually stepping over lines for decades now. Let's keep that real. So rest in peace to him. Long live the habitual line steppers. I'm Roger. I'm right. And I'm out.